Hi, I'm Hanna from DesignWise Coaching and Consulting, and I'm going to take you through my design process that can be used for leadership development or learning program, especially if you're going to design it in-house. Now, of course, those of us who do any kind of development design can, obviously go to a coffee shop and sit with our favorite hot drink of choice and come up with this on our own. But when we're designing within the system, we really do need to understand the constraints and ideas of those systems before we move forward. Before I get started, I am going to assume all the pre-contracting has happened. So you have already identified who the key players are, the sponsors, the owners, the key decision makers. What are the communication agreements? Who needs to know what, when? What are the expectations of the overall project, which, might change through the process of design and discovery. But at the beginning, at least have something on paper. What's the budget, scope, and timeline? Of course, you'll need this, especially if you're a consultant, to understand how to scope out your proposal and really understand, why are you there? Why now? Why is it important to them? What's going on from their perspective? Let's actually dive into the framework. It happens in 3 phases. The first phase is we're going to prepare that landscape. This is an example I often use. So let's say you just bought a new house and you're an avid gardener and you have this beautiful lawn and you want to put in a really nice vegetable patch. Maybe your spouse wants to put in a patio with a barbecue to invite your new neighbors over. Your kids want a pool. So you have all of these wants of all of the different kind of people, and you just want to get started on your vegetable patch, so you go out and just buy a bunch of vegetable starts. And of course, for those of us who have done this before, know exactly what happens. You bring home the vegetable starts and they all die because you have nowhere to put them. How I've seen this show up is somebody will go to a retreat and they learned crucial conversations and they came back and said, this is amazing, everybody has to do this. And then that gets implemented and it falls flat. So by following this process, you will have a higher success in your outcomes. We're definitely going to start with the end in mind. And this is all about establishing the future states and clarify what truly matters. Now, through my life, I have been told, as many of you probably have, find the deficit and fix it. Find the deficit and fix it. Well, what happens if we start with what's wrong right now in a complex system, different parties are going to have a different idea of what's wrong. So if you start there, then a lot of times the person with the biggest vote in the room, because not all votes are created equal, will end up having the biggest voice, and then their deficit will get solved. Now, that's not necessarily what needs to get solved for the entire system. So we're going to do something different. We're going to start with the end in mind. Before anything is built, I know we get excited. The designers in us want to get started. I did Leadership Circle. This is such a great program. What about this program? What about this program? Just stop. We're not going to start there because we're trying to design something that fits for the client. Either that's an internal client or an external client. So I know it's fun, but it's buying the plants. I promise you, don't buy the plants yet. We're going to align why the work matters and what success truly looks like. Now, we're all doers, right? And we all want to get our hands dirty and just start digging and maybe hire somebody, maybe go out and buy some really great trainings. Well, that can get pretty expensive. We are going to start with a solid plan. And in order to do that, we've got to get input from everybody. What is it that they want? How do they see this working? At the end of the day, what is the dream if you had a magic wand? So we're going to go through a whole design process. So in the end, we've got something that's really solid. Now, I know I said we aren't going to do any design. Well, what I meant was we're not going to start with, hey, are we going to do this virtually? Are we going to do this in person? Are we going to offer hybrid? Are we going to do coaching? We're not starting there. We're going to start with the end in mind. And there's a couple of tools for future planning that I really like. First is, of course, IDEO facilitation technique. You can check out the book Art of Innovation or attend one of their trainings. If you're planning to facilitate this in-house, I recommend Grove Tools because you can purchase their leader guide and order their materials online. Another tool for facilitating on your own is Liberating Structures. You can grab their book or go to their website. By the way, I'm not sponsored for any of these, but I will put links below. And a few more. Theory U, so fantastic. Fifth Discipline by Peter Senge, Extraordinary Groups, Transformative Scenario Planning. Those are just to name a few. I think there's probably thousands of tools and techniques out there to do this thing. And it becomes stacking turtles at some point. So just pick the one that fits the best and go for it. There's lots of ways to go about it, but this is the way I suggest. Get as many people involved as you can. You might be able to get everybody in a room all at once and gather that information. Now, if you can't get everybody together in the same room, that's okay. There's other ways to gather data. You can have one-on-one conversations. You can have small group engagements. Try to make it as user-friendly as you can. Of course, it would be so nice that I'll get all the key decision makers in a room. Sometimes that's not available. I would also really encourage for those organizations that usually only invite the same people to think outside of that normal group. Like, invite people you would have never thought to invite. This is a trick by IDEO. IDEO's whole platform is inviting people from different disciplines because they think and see things differently. Okay, so you're going to gather all of your data, and here's my purple people. My purple people are the key owners or the people who are calling the shots, right? We are going to check in with them at every step of the way. So we start with the end in mind. I'm going to gather all that information and I'm going to present it. And of course, the reason we do that is because we want to make sure they say, hold on, you need to talk to these people, or if the scope needs to change, whatever that looks like. Now we're going to look at the isness. What is the current state? What structures do you already have? What are your leadership competencies? Maybe you have key performance indicators. Whatever the isness is, you start gathering all of that up. And you can do that through different ways. You can create surveys. Maybe there's already an engagement survey that's already been done by the company. So we have surveys, we have virtual conversations, one-on-one conversations, whatever that looks like. Just gather all of that information. You're going to put it in your report, and you're going to give a summary phase one and provide recommendations for the next steps. So we have the current reality mapped with the end reality. Now we can go back and say it matches what you thought you needed, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes people don't know what they want. I don't know what I want sometimes. So here's an example. I was asked to create a program for high potentials. And what happened was, after we got through this experience, what we realized is that we didn't actually have any structure for what are the expected behaviors of leaders at different levels. And so in order to create a high potential, you need to identify what are expected behaviors of a manager, director, VP. So the project actually wasn't the high potential program. It was identifying those things and coming up with leadership competencies. And so the project went on a completely different path. Now, if we didn't do this first portion and we just went for it anyway, we would have gone way down a road on a high potential program and ran into the problem anyway, eventually, that we didn't have anything to measure. And it could possibly make the program not successful. Now, from the beginning, you want to think like a marketer. And this is what I mean by that. As you're going through, notice who are the influencers. When people talk, other people listen. Write those people down. Just make a note of it, right? Because you might need to use it later. We're creating momentum, you're building credibility, and you're building trust. Okay, so let's keep going to phase 2, which is everybody's favorite phase because we get to design. This is the time to bring on your SMEs. This is your time to bring on your program managers. So we've looked at the isness, we've looked at the end in mind, and we're going to come with a suggestion. So we say, okay, I think we should offer these types of programs, but I don't know yet which one would fit best. Different programs have different benefits. So we're going to not just launch something to 600 leaders. We're not going to do that. Nope. We're going to have small pilots. Now we're still going to design a whole program. We're going to create a communication plan, an approach plan, start our program management, and work with the people who are doing the LMS. We're going to start engaging all of those systems. We're going to assume that something is going to launch at a bigger level. We don't want just to prototype something that would only work on a small level, if that's the intent in mind. And of course, we would have learned that during phase 1. Okay, so we're going to create small, testable experiences and launch them to small groups, because you're also trying to create momentum and buy-in. You may even want to invite those early adopters to be part of the design process going forward. There's so many tools out there to help you design effective programs. Here are some of my favorites. Firstly, I have my own design program called Facets of Transformative Leadership Development Programs. Then I also have a video about the Learning Ladder. You can check out and learn more about that. And we have Bloom's taxonomy that you're going to use for your learning objectives, 70-20-10, and then the neuroscience. You always want to keep the neuroscience in mind when you're designing any kind of engagement. Of course, you're also going to want to align these to things like leadership competencies and those KPIs that you determined early on. So we're going to involve lots of different people. We're going to collect data and iterate. We're going to have a really solid data collection plan where we're going to use Kirkpatrick's 4 levels of measurement. And we're going to invite all different kinds of folks to participate. And we're just going to keep iterating until we have something super refined. The beauty of this is that you're getting buy-in from the key decision makers that by the time you launch it, it's ready to go. And there we go, phase 3 launch. Okay, so that is the entire process. If you have any questions, put them in the comment below and I will answer them as best as I can. Or you can reach out for a free discovery call on my website, DesignWiseConsulting.com. Thanks for watching.